The metal floor gleamed under the harsh blue lights of the Galactic administrative station. Songmi pushed her cleaning cart slowly down the empty corridor, her footsteps soft against the polished surface. It was late, almost midnight by Earth time, and most of the station had gone quiet. This was when Songmi preferred to work. The fewer aliens she saw, the better. She reached a dirty spot on the floor and bent down with her mop. At 42 years old, Songmi felt the ache in her knees more than she used to. 5 years of cleaning this massive space station had taken a toll on her body. But the pay was good, much better than what she could earn back on Earth. And that was all that mattered. High above the blue planet, the Galactic Administrative Station served as the headquarters for the Tridaran Empire in the human sector. The giant ring-shaped station could be seen from Earth on clear nights, a reminder of humanity's small place in the vast universe. Songmi remembered the day the aliens came, 30 years ago. She had been just a girl then, watching the massive ships appear in the sky on her parents' old television. The world had changed forever. Humans learned they were not alone, and worse, that they were considered primitive and weak by galactic standards. Now humans worked the jobs no alien wanted. Cleaning, cooking, carrying. The hard, physical labor that the advanced species thought beneath them. Songmi dipped her mop into the rolling bucket of soapy water. As she worked, she thought about Daeho, her husband of 20 years back on Earth. Their small apartment in Seoul would be empty now. Daeho worked long hours at some research facility outside the city. He never talked much about his work. She didn't ask. They were simple people with simple needs. She smiled thinking about their video call that morning. Daeho had looked tired, but his eyes still lit up when he saw her face on the screen. "I miss you," he had said in his deep, calm voice. "I miss you too," she had replied. 2 more months, then I can come home for a visit. That thought kept her going through the long nights on the station. 2 more months. Then she could feel the real sun on her face again, not these artificial lights that made her skin look pale and sickly. Songmi pushed her cart around the corner and froze. Ahead of her, a group of Tridaran officers stood blocking the hallway. There were 5 of them, all very tall with their gray-blue skin and 4 arms. They wore the black and silver uniforms of the Empire's elite guard. Songmi looked down immediately. She knew better than to make eye contact. The best way to deal with Tridarans was to stay invisible. She turned her cart around, planning to clean another section and come back later. "Human, stop." The voice was sharp, the translator making it sound metallic and cold. Songmi stopped but kept her eyes on the floor. "Yes, sir?" Heavy footsteps approached. The Tridarans moved differently than humans, with a strange grace despite their size. One of them circled around to stand in front of her. "Look at me when I speak to you," the officer said. Songmi raised her eyes slowly. The Tridaran stared down at her, his 4 yellow eyes blinking at different times. She could smell something, sharp and bitter on his breath. The officer was drunk. All of them were, she realized, noticing the way they swayed slightly. "What is your designation?" the officer asked. "Cleaning staff, 42J, sir." "Songmi Kim." The Tridaran turned to his friends. 42J, he repeated, and they laughed. Their translator devices made the sound harsh and unnatural. "We are bored, 42J, said another officer, stepping forward. "The night is young, and we seek entertainment." Songmi's heart began to beat faster. She had heard stories from other human workers, stories about drunk officers looking for fun with the cleaning staff. Nothing good ever followed. "I must finish my work," she said quietly. "The administrator expects all floors to be cleaned by morning." "The administrator is not here," said the first officer. He reached out with one of his lower arms and pushed Songmi's cart. It rolled away and hit the wall, spilling dirty water across the clean floor. "Now look what you did," he said. "More work for you." The officers laughed again. Songmi took a small step backward. "I should clean that up," she said. "Not yet," said the officer. He was the tallest of the group, with marks on his uniform showing his high rank. "First, you will entertain us. Show us what humans do for fun." Songmi shook her head. I don't know any games or songs, sir. Then we will teach you one of ours, said another officer. This one had a scar across his face, cutting through one of his yellow eyes. The group formed a circle around Songmi. She looked from one to another, trying to find a way out. The hallway was empty. The security cameras that lined the ceiling were there, but she knew they would do nothing. Humans had no rights here, not really. It is a simple game, said the leader. We call it stand or fall. I will push you. If you stay standing, you win. If you fall, you lose. Without warning, he shoved her with one of his upper arms. The blow caught Songmi in the shoulder, spinning her around. She stumbled but managed to stay on her feet. Good, said the officer. Again! The next push was harder. Songmi hit the wall, pain shooting through her back. She slid down slightly, but pushed herself up before touching the floor. The Tridarans were fully engaged now, their yellow eyes wide with excitement. They took turns pushing her, each one trying to be the one to make her fall. Songmi's body ached, but fear kept her on her feet. Enough of this, said the scarred officer after several minutes. Let's try something new. He stepped forward and grabbed Songmi's arm with two of his hands. His grip was painfully tight. Let me go, Songmi said, trying to pull away. Please. The human says, please, mocked the officer. So polite. Do all humans beg so easily? Let me finish my work, Songmi said, her voice stronger now, or I will report you to the administrator. The officers went silent for a moment, then burst into laughter. Report us. The leader leaned down until his face was inches from hers. Who do you think will believe you? You are nothing here. Less than nothing. Songmi tried to step back, but the scarred officer still held her arm. Panic rose in her chest. I just want to do my job, she said. And we just want to have fun, replied the leader. Now new game, this one is called How Much Can a Human Take? The first blow caught Songmi completely by surprise. The officer's fist connected with her stomach, driving the air from her lungs. She would have fallen if not for the scarred officer holding her up. As Songmi gasped for breath, she thought of Daeho back on Earth, of their small apartment waiting for her, of the sun she wanted to feel on her face again. 2 more months, she had told him that morning. Now, as the second blow landed and the officer's laughter echoed in the empty hallway, Songmi wondered if she would ever see home again. Pain exploded through Songmi's body as she fell to the floor. The metal surface felt cold against her cheek. She tried to get up, but a heavy foot pressed down on her back, pinning her in place. Look how weak she is, laughed the Tridaran leader. Humans break so easily. The scarred officer pulled out a small device from his pocket. It hovered in the air, a lens at its center glowing softly. A recording drone. We should remember this moment, he said. For educational purposes. The other officers laughed. The drone floated around them, its lens focused on Songmi. Please, Songmi whispered. I have done nothing wrong. The leader knelt down beside her. All 4 of his arms rested on his knees as he studied her face. That is true, he said. You have done nothing wrong. But you have done nothing right either. You exist. That is your crime. He stood up and nodded to the others. The foot on Songmi's back lifted, and for a moment she thought they might let her go. Then hands grabbed her arms and pulled her roughly to her feet. Humans joined the Galactic community 30 years ago, said the leader, pacing in front of her. 30 years? And what have you contributed? Nothing. You take our technology. You use our star maps. You beg for our protection. But you give nothing in return. We work for you, Songmi said quietly. We learn from you. The leader's hand shot out, striking her across the face. Songmi's head snapped to the side and she tasted blood in her mouth. You are not learning fast enough, he said. 2 officers held Songmi's arms while the others took turns hitting her. They were careful at first, as if testing how much force to use. Then they grew bolder. The blows came harder and faster. Songmi stopped begging after the first few minutes. It only seemed to encourage them. Instead, she closed her eyes and tried to think of home, of Daeho's face, of the small garden behind their apartment where she grew peppers and herbs. Something cracked in her chest. A rib. Maybe more than one. Each breath became painful. One of her eyes had swollen shut. Blood ran from her nose and mouth, dripping, onto the clean floor she had just mopped. The recording drone circled around them, capturing everything. "Enough," said the leader after what felt like hours. "Let her go." The hands holding her arms released and Songmi crumpled to the floor. She curled into a ball, trying to protect herself from more blows. "Will she die?" asked one of the younger officers. He sounded worried for the first time. "Probably not," said the leader. "Humans are like rodents. Hard to kill." He nudged Songmi with his foot. "But if she does, it is no great loss. There are many human cleaners." The scarred officer retrieved the drone and checked its recording. "Perfect," he said. "This will be popular in the barracks." "Send me a copy," said another officer. "My brother on the homeworld will enjoy it." They talked about the recording as if discussing a sporting event they had watched. As if Songmi were not a person lying broken at their feet. "Clean this up before you leave," the leader said to Songmi. "Bloodstains are hard to remove if they set." The officers laughed one last time and walked away. Their voices and footsteps faded as they turned the corner. Songmi lay still, afraid they might come back. When she was sure they were gone, she tried to move. Pain shot through her body and she gasped. Moving seemed impossible, but staying in the hallway was dangerous. The officers might return. Or worse, other aliens might find her and decide to continue the game. She needed help. The human quarters were 3 levels down. No one there could really help her, but at least she would be among her own kind. Songmi pressed her hands against the floor and pushed herself up. The pain made her vision go dark for a moment. She took a slow breath and waited for it to pass. Her cleaning cart had tipped over, spilling water and supplies across the floor. She crawled toward it, each movement sending waves of pain through her broken body. Using the cart for support, Songmi pulled herself to her feet. The world spun around her. She leaned heavily on the cart, waiting for the dizziness to fade. When she could see clearly again, she began to push the cart forward. It moved slowly, leaving a trail of bloody water behind it. The station's night cycle was still in effect. The hallways remained empty as Songmi made her painful journey toward the elevators. Each step was a battle. Each breath hurt more than the last. She reached the elevator and pressed the button for the human level. The doors closed, and for a moment she was alone with her reflection in the shiny metal walls. Songmi hardly recognized herself. Her face was swollen and bloody. One eye was completely closed. Her uniform was torn and stained dark red in many places. The elevator stopped and the doors opened to reveal a young human security guard. His eyes widened in shock when he saw Songmi. "Help," she managed to say before her legs gave out. The guard caught her before she hit the floor. His face was the last thing Songmi saw before darkness took her. She woke up in the station's medical bay. The bright lights hurt her eyes. Since only one would open. A human doctor stood over her, checking the readings on a machine beside the bed. "You're awake," the doctor said. "That's a good sign. How do you feel?" Songmi tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. The doctor held a cup of water to her lips. "Slowly," she said. "Small sips." After drinking, Songmi found her voice. "How, Ad?" The doctor's face was serious. 4 broken ribs, internal bleeding, skull fracture, broken arm, and many, many bruises. Whoever did this to you wanted to cause pain, not death. Otherwise... She didn't finish the sentence. "The officers," Songmi whispered. "Will they be punished?" The doctor looked away. "Security has been informed. They're reviewing the camera footage from the hallway." Songmi knew what that meant. Nothing would happen. The cameras had seen everything, but no one would care. Humans had no power here. "Your husband has been notified," the doctor continued. "He's on his way from Earth. Should be here in about 30 hours. Daeho was coming." The thought made Songmi want to cry, but even that hurt too much. "Rest now," the doctor said. "Your body needs time to heal." Songmi closed her eye. Sleep came quickly, pulling her away from the pain. She dreamed of Daeho. In her dream, he was not the quiet engineer she knew. He was something else, something powerful and dangerous. In her dream, Daeho walked the halls of the station, and the aliens who had hurt her ran in fear. It was a good dream, even though she knew it could never be real. On Earth, 30,000 miles below the station, Daeho Kim received the message about his wife. He sat very still as he read the report. His hands, large and strong, did not shake. His face showed no emotion, but deep inside, something that had been sleeping for many years began to wake up. Daeho Kim sat alone in the shuttle heading toward the Galactic administrative station. His large hands rested on his knees as he stared out the small window at the stars. Earth grew smaller behind him, a blue dot fading into the darkness of space. 28 more hours until he would reach the station. 28 hours to think about what he would do when he got there. The message from the station's medical staff had been brief. His wife had been attacked. She was badly hurt but alive. The attackers were Tridaran officers. No arrests had been made. Daeho had not asked questions. He had simply packed a small bag and booked passage on the first available shuttle. His supervisor at the research facility had not been happy about his sudden departure, but Daeho did not care. Songmi needed him. Nothing else mattered. A voice came over the shuttle's speaker. Approaching lunar checkpoint. All passengers please have identification ready. Daeho reached into his pocket and pulled out his ID card. The photo showed a quiet-looking man with short black hair and serious eyes. The card listed his occupation as research assistant at the Earth Defense Technology Center. It was a lie. One of many lies Daeho had lived with for the past 15 years. The shuttle docked briefly at the lunar station for inspection. Daeho handed his ID to the bored-looking human officer who scanned it and handed it back without a word. Standard procedure. No one paid much attention to humans traveling within the system. Once the shuttle was moving again, Daeho closed his eyes. Not to sleep. He had not truly slept in decades, but to remember. 25 years ago, before the aliens came, Daeho had been a soldier. Not just any soldier, but the best. He had volunteered for a secret government program. Project Juggernaut, they called it. The goal was to create the perfect warrior. Daeho had been the first success. The only success, as it turned out. The scientists had changed him in ways even they did not fully understand. They made him stronger, faster. They enhanced his senses and gave him the ability to heal from almost any wound. They put implants in his body that could be activated when needed, turning him from a weapon into an arsenal. Then the aliens arrived, and everything changed. The world governments made peace with the galactic community. Project Juggernaut was shut down. The perfect warrior was no longer needed. Daeho was given a new identity and a new job. He was told to live quietly and forget what he had been, and for 20 years he had done exactly that. Until now. His hand moved to his chest, feeling the hard shape beneath his shirt. The control chip was still there, embedded next to his heart. Dormant, but not dead. Waiting. Daeho pulled a small device from his bag. It looked like an ordinary phone, but it was much more. He had kept it hidden for 20 years, never using it, never even turning it on. But he had kept it. He pressed his thumb against the screen. It lit up, recognizing him instantly. Voice confirmation required, said a flat, computerized voice. Juggernaut, Daeho said quietly. The screen changed, showing a simple menu. Daeho tapped the first option. Activate. A warning appeared. Warning. Full activation will alert monitoring systems. Proceed. Daeho hesitated. If he did this, there was no going back. The quiet life he had built with Songmi would be over. The authorities would know what he was doing. They would try to stop him. He thought of Songmi, broken and bleeding on, a hospital bed because some aliens decided to have fun with her. His finger tapped yes. Pain shot through his chest as the control chip activated. Daeho gritted his teeth and wrote it out. He had felt worse pain during the original procedures. The device in his hand displayed a series of numbers and codes. System activation successful. Primary implants online, secondary systems charging. Daeho felt the change immediately. His senses sharpened. He could hear the heartbeats of the passengers in the next compartment. He could smell their fear and excitement. His muscles tensed with new strength. A message appeared on the screen. Unauthorized activation detected. Security protocols engaged. Tracking signal active. Daeho had expected this. They would be looking for him now. The original handlers of Project Juggernaut or whoever had replaced them. It did not matter. Let them come. He had 28 hours before they could reach him, and by then he would be at the station. A soft beep from the device told him that the secondary systems were ready. Daeho scrolled through the options and selected Information Access. The screen filled with data as the implant in his brain connected to Earth's security networks. He had access to everything now. Personnel files, security protocols, station, layouts. Most importantly, he had the names and faces of every Trideran officer stationed on the administrative station. Somewhere among them were the ones who had hurt Songmi. Daeho would find them. All of them. The shuttle pilot announced they were leaving lunar space. The journey to the station would take another 26 hours. Daeho used the time to plan. He studied the station's layout, memorizing every corridor and access point. He reviewed the security systems and found ways to avoid them. He examined the personnel files of the Trideran security force, learning their routines and habits. Halfway through the journey, his device picked up a transmission from Earth. Attention all security forces. Be alert for Kim Daeho, human male, age 45. Subject is considered dangerous. If located, do not approach. Report position immediately. So they knew he was active. It did not matter. They could not stop him now. As the shuttle approached the massive ring-shaped station, Daeho put the device away. He did not need it anymore. Everything he needed was already in his head, or in his body. The shuttle docked smoothly at one of the lower bays. Daeho waited patiently as the other passengers gathered their belongings and filed out. He was in no hurry. Songmi was stable according to the latest update from the medical staff. He would see her soon. A human security officer checked his ID at the dock entrance. Purpose of visit? The officer asked, not looking up from his screen. My wife is in the medical bay, Daeho said. She was injured. The officer nodded and waved him through. No one stopped a man visiting his injured wife. No one looked closely at his eyes, which now had a faint glow that had not been there before. No one noticed how he moved, too smoothly and too quietly for a normal human. Daeho made his way through the busy lower levels of the station. Humans and aliens of various species moved around him, none paying him any attention. He was just another human visitor, nothing special. He took an elevator to the medical level. As the doors closed, he caught his reflection in the shiny metal wall. He looked the same on the outside, a middle-aged Korean man with serious eyes and strong hands. But inside, he was becoming something else, something he had not been for 20 years. The Juggernaut was waking up. The elevator stopped at the medical level. Daeho stepped out and walked calmly to the reception desk. A human nurse looked up as he approached. I am here to see Songmi Kim, he said. I am her husband. The nurse checked her screen and nodded. She's in room 423. The doctor will want to speak with you first. Daeho followed the nurse down a long corridor. His enhanced hearing picked up the sound of Songmi's heartbeat long before he reached her room. Steady, but weak. The doctor was waiting outside the room, a tired-looking human woman with gray hair. Mr. Kim, she said, offering her hand. I'm Dr. Lee. I've been caring for your wife. Daeho shook her hand carefully, aware of his increased strength. How is she? Dr. Lee's face grew serious, stable but still critical. The beating was severe. She has multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and a serious head injury. We've done what we can, but our medical technology is limited compared to what the Tridarans have. And the ones who did this? Daeho asked, his voice calm. The doctor looked away. Station security reviewed the footage. The officers claimed they were just having some fun that got out of hand. They received a formal reprimand. A reprimand? Deho repeated. I'm sorry, Dr. Lee said. That's how things work here. Humans don't have the same rights as the galactic species. Deho nodded. May I see her now? The doctor opened the door for him. She's heavily sedated. She may not know you're here. Deho stepped into the room and saw his wife. Song-Mi lay still on the bed, her face swollen and discolored. Tubes and wires connected her to various machines that beeped softly. He moved to her side and gently took her hand. Her fingers were the only part of her that did not seem broken. I am here, Song-Mi, he said softly. I am here now. Dr. Lee watched from the doorway. You should get some rest, Mr. Kim. There's a waiting area down the hall. I can call you if there's any change. Deho did not look away from Song-Mi's face. Thank you, doctor. I will stay here for now. When the doctor left, Deho leaned closer to his wife. I will find them, he whispered. Every one of them. And they will pay for what they did to you. He would wait until Song-Mi was stable, until he was sure she would live. Then the hunt would begin, and the Trideran Empire would learn why humans had created Project Juggernaut in the first place. 3 days passed before Song-Mi opened her eyes and recognized Deho. Her voice was weak, but her hand squeezed his with surprising strength. You came, she whispered. Of course I came, Deho said, gently stroking her hair. I will always come for you. Song-Mi tried to smile, but the movement caused her pain. The officers, she said. They recorded everything. Deho's face remained calm, but inside, his anger burned hotter. Do not worry about them, he said. Just focus on getting better. When Song-Mi fell back asleep, Deho stood and walked to the window. From there he could see Earth in the distance, a blue jewel against the blackness of space. For 20 years, he had lived a quiet life there with Song-Mi. That life was over now. Dr. Lee entered the room with a datapad in her hand. Good news, Mr. Kim. Your wife is stable enough to be moved to a recovery room. The worst is over. Deho nodded. Thank you for taking care of her. It's my job, the doctor said. She hesitated, then added. There's something else you should know. The station administrator reviewed the incident. The officers involved have been transferred to other duties, but there will be no further punishment. Deho's face showed no reaction. I understand. I'm sorry, Dr. Lee said. It's not right, but that's how things work here. Things will change, Deho said quietly. That night, after Song-Mi had been moved to her new room and was sleeping peacefully, Deho slipped out of the medical bay. The time for waiting was over. He moved through the station with purpose, avoiding security cameras and busy areas. The station's layout was clear in his mind, every corridor and access point memorized from the files he had studied. His first destination was the security office on level 5. At this late hour, it would be lightly staffed. Deho needed information that only the security system could provide. The current locations of the 5 Trideran officers who had attacked Song-Mi. The door to the security office was locked, but the electronic panel beside it was simple to override with Deho's enhanced abilities. He placed his hand over the panel and tiny filaments extended from his fingertips, connecting to the circuits inside. The lock clicked open. Inside, a single human guard sat watching monitors. Before the guard could react, Deho moved behind him and pressed a point on his neck. The guard slumped forward, unconscious but unhurt. Deho sat at the main console and began typing. His fingers moved with inhuman speed as he bypassed security protocols and accessed the station's personnel tracking system. Every resident of the station had an ID chip that could be tracked. It took only moments to find the files on the attack and identify the 5 officers involved. The leader, Officer Krell, was in the officers' lounge on level 8. 2 others were on duty in different parts of the station. The final 2, including the scarred officer who had operated the recording drone, were in their quarters in the Tridaran residential section. Daeho copied their schedules and patrol routes, then erased all evidence of his presence from the system. Before leaving, he made sure the unconscious guard would not be found too quickly by locking the door from the inside. His first target would be Officer Krell. The officer's lounge was a private area where off-duty Tridaran security personnel relaxed. Humans were not allowed inside except to serve drinks or clean. Daeho had no intention of using the front door. He made his way to a maintenance shaft that ran behind the lounge. According to the station's schematics, there was an access panel that opened directly into a storage room connected to the lounge. The shaft was narrow, designed for repair drones rather than humans. A normal man could not have fit through it. Daeho was no longer normal. His body changed subtly, muscles shifting to allow him to squeeze through the tight space. He emerged into the dark storage room and listened. His enhanced hearing picked up voices from the lounge beyond. One of them belonged to Officer Krell. Daeho recognized it from the recording of the attack, which he had watched once and memorized completely. Krell was bragging about something. Daeho waited, patient as a hunter. Minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, he heard Krell say goodnight to the others. Footsteps approached the storage room. The door opened and Krell entered, looking for something on the shelves. He did not see Daeho until it was too late. Daeho moved with blinding speed, pinning the Tridaran against the wall with one hand around his throat. Krell's forearms flailed, trying to break free, but Daeho's strength was far beyond that of a normal human. "Remember my wife?" Daeho asked softly. "The human cleaner you beat for fun." Krell's yellow eyes widened in recognition and fear. "Security, we'll be here in minutes," he gasped. "No," Daeho said. "They will not. The cameras in this room are showing a recording from yesterday. No one knows I am here." "What do you want?" Krell asked. "Money. I can pay you." Daeho tightened his grip slightly. "I want you to understand something. Humans are not weak. We just choose not to show our strength." "You're just a human," Krell said, but his voice trembled. "I am more than human," Daeho replied. "I am what humans created to protect themselves before your kind arrived. I am Project Juggernaut." Krell tried to reach for his weapon, but Daeho caught his arm and bent it backward until something snapped. The Tridaran officer screamed, but no sound came out. Daeho's other hand still gripped his throat. "I will not kill you," Daeho said. "Death is too quick. Instead, you will carry a message." When Daeho finally released him, Krell slumped to the floor, gasping for air. One of his arms hung useless at his side. "The message is this," Daeho said. "Tell the others who hurt my wife that I am coming for them, one by one." Before leaving, Daeho took the officer's personal communication device. It would contain valuable information. Over the next 12 hours, Daeho hunted down the remaining 4 officers. He found the second one in a quiet corridor and left him unconscious but alive. The third was coming off his shift when Daeho pulled him into an empty room. This one fought back harder, but the result was the same. By now, word was spreading through the station. A human was attacking Tridaran officers. Security teams were mobilized, but they were looking for a normal human. Daeho was far from normal. He moved through maintenance shafts and service tunnels, always one step ahead of his pursuers. The 4th officer had barricaded himself in his quarters, armed and waiting. It did not help him. Daeho came through the ventilation system and was on him before he could fire his weapon. The last one, the scarred officer who had operated the recording drone, was the most difficult to find. He had gone into hiding as soon as he heard about the others. But Daeho was patient. He monitored communications and waited. On the 4th day, the scarred officer made a mistake. He tried to leave the station on a supply ship. Daeho was waiting at the dock. Their confrontation was brief but violent. The scarred officer was skilled in combat, but he was fighting something beyond his experience. When it was over, he lay on the dock floor, looking up at Daeho with fear in his yellow eyes. "The recording," Daeho said. "Where is it?" "Data chip," the officer gasped, pointing to a pocket in his uniform. "There." Daeho took the chip and examined it. "Is this the only copy?" "No. It's been shared. Many have seen it." Daeho nodded. Good, because now they will see what happens next. He inserted the chip into the officer's communication device and accessed the station's broadcast system. With a few commands, he overrode the normal channels. Every screen on the station would now show what he wanted them to see. You will confess, Daeho told the officer. You will tell everyone what you did to my wife and why you did it. You will explain that humans are not playthings for your amusement. The scarred officer tried to refuse, but one look at Daeho's face changed his mind. When the camera on the communication device activated, he began to speak, his voice shaking. Throughout the station, on every level and in every section, screens showed the face of the scarred Tridarian officer as he confessed to the attack on Songmi. He described how they had beaten her for fun, how they had recorded it and shared the recording for others to enjoy. When he finished, Daeho stepped into view. His voice was calm but carried a weight that made all who heard it listen closely. I'm Kim Daeho, he said. My wife is Songmi Kim, the woman who was attacked. I want everyone on this station to know that this ends now. Humans will no longer be treated as lesser beings. We are not your servants or your entertainment. We are your equals. He looked directly into the camera, his eyes glowing faintly. Remember this. For every human you hurt, there might be someone like me waiting. You never know which of us is more than we appear to be. The broadcast ended, but its effect was immediate. The station erupted in chaos as reports spread of a single human who had defeated 5 of the Empire's elite officers. Security teams converged on the dock, but Daeho was already gone, moving through the station back toward the medical bay. Back to Songmi. His message had been delivered. Now he needed to prepare for what would come next, because the Tridarian Empire would not let this challenge go unanswered. The station administrator stood in the control room surrounded by nervous officers. Screens showed security teams searching every level of the station. So far, they had found nothing. How can one human avoid our best trackers? The administrator demanded. His name was Vex, and he had governed the Galactic administrative station for 15 years. Never before had he faced such a crisis. This is not a normal human, said the security chief. The medical reports from the officers he confronted show evidence of strength and speed far beyond human capability. Vex paced the room, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. The Empire has sent a battle cruiser. It will arrive in 6 hours. They want this human captured or killed before humans across the galaxy learn of this incident. On a screen above them, the recording of Daeho's message played again. His calm voice filled the room. For every human you hurt, there might be someone like me waiting. You never know which of us is more than we appear to be. The words sent a chill through the room. For centuries, the Tridarian Empire had seen humans as weak, primitive creatures. Now one human had challenged that belief, and the Empire was afraid. Find him, Vex ordered. Search every corner of this station. In the medical bay, Songmi sat up in her bed, watching the same recording on a small screen. Her face was still bruised, but the swelling had gone down. Beside her sat Daeho, his hand holding hers. You did all this for me? Songmi asked softly. Daeho nodded. Yes. They will kill you, she said. Tears filled her eyes. The Empire will never allow a human to challenge them like this. They will try, Daeho said. He looked out the window at the stars. I knew this day would come eventually. I just hoped it would not be necessary. Songmi squeezed his hand. What do you mean? 20 years ago, when the aliens first came, the world governments made a choice. They chose peace over resistance. Project Juggernaut was shut down because they decided we did not need soldiers like me. But they kept you ready, Songmi said, understanding now. Just in case. Daeho nodded. Yes, I was the insurance policy. If the aliens ever proved to be a threat, I would be activated. Are there others like you? No, I was the first and the last. The process was too dangerous, too unpredictable. Most subjects did not survive. Songmi touched his face gently. All these years I never knew. It was better that way, Daeho said. Safer for you. A soft beep sounded from the device in Daeho's pocket. He took it out and checked the screen. They have found us. The security teams are on their way here. What will you do? Songmi asked. Daeho stood up. What I must. Stay here. You will be safe. Before he could leave, the door to the room slid open. But it was not security teams that entered. It was Dr. Lee looking worried. Mr. Kim, she said. The administrator has called an emergency meeting. He wants you to attend. That is a trap, Daeho said. Dr. Lee shook her head. I don't think so. Something has changed. The Empire sent a message to the station. They're sending someone important to deal with this situation personally. Daeho considered this. His enhanced senses told him the doctor was telling the truth. When is this meeting? 1 hour from now, in the main conference room. Daeho turned to Songmi. Rest. I will return. Be careful, she said. Daeho left with Dr. Lee, who led him through back corridors to avoid the security teams. Most of the human staff support what you did, she told him. The officers who hurt your wife have hurt others before. No one ever stood up to them until now. The main conference room was on level 1, the highest level of the station. Daeho had never been there before. It was where the most important decisions about Earth and its place in the galactic community were made. When they arrived, the room was already full. Administrator Vex sat at the head of a long table surrounded by Tridaran officials. Human representatives sat on the opposite side looking uncomfortable. Armed guards stood at every door. All eyes turned to Daeho as he entered. He walked calmly to the empty seat at the far end of the table, facing Vex directly. Kim Daeho, Vex said. Do you know how many laws you have broken? Yes, Daeho replied simply. The Empire has sent a battle cruiser to deal with this situation. It will arrive in 5 hours. They want you handed over for punishment. I expected that, Daeho said. Vex leaned forward. But something unexpected has also happened. Your message was broadcast not just on this station, but across the human sectors. Someone copied the signal and sent it to Earth and the human colonies. Billions of people have seen it. Daeho had not planned for this, but he was not surprised. Humans had always been good at sharing information. The Earth governments have contacted the Empire, Vex continued. They have confirmed your identity as Project Juggernaut. They have also revealed that there are more like you. This was a lie. Daeho knew he was unique, but he understood why Earth would make such a claim. It was a logical move in a dangerous game. The Empire is concerned, Vex said. They do not want conflict with humans if humans have weapons like you. A new voice spoke from a screen on the wall. That is why I am here. The screen showed the face of a high-ranking Tridaran official. The markings on his uniform indicated he was from the Imperial Council itself. I am Council Member Traz, the official said. I have been sent to resolve this situation. Daeho waited, saying nothing. The attack on the human cleaner was unacceptable, Traz said. The officers involved have disgraced the Empire. They will be punished severely. Murmurs of surprise filled the room. Never before had the Empire admitted wrongdoing against humans. Furthermore, Traz continued, the Empire wishes to express its regret for the incident. Compensation will be paid to the victim, and new policies will be implemented to ensure better treatment of humans throughout Imperial space. Administrator Vex looked shocked. This was not what he had expected. In return, Traz said, looking directly at Daeho, we ask that Project Juggernaut stand down. We have no desire for conflict with Earth or its enhanced defenders. Daeho understood what was happening. The Empire was afraid, not just of him, but of the possibility that Earth had created more like him. Fear was driving this sudden change of policy. I will stand down, Daeho said, if the new policies are real and lasting. If humans are treated with respect from this day forward, they will be, Traz assured him. A formal treaty is being prepared. Earth representatives will be invited to the Imperial capital to sign it. The meeting continued for another hour as details were discussed. When it ended, Daeho returned to the medical bay. Songmi was awake waiting for him. What happened? She asked. Daeho sat beside her and told her everything. The Empire believes there are more like me, he concluded. They are afraid of a war they might not win. But there are no more like you, Songmi said. No. But they do not need to know that. Daeho took her hand. What matters is that things will change now. Humans will have more rights, more respect. All because of what happened to me, Songmi said quietly. All because they finally saw what humans are capable of, Daeho corrected her. We are not weak. We never were. We just chose peace when we could have chosen war. In the days that followed, the station changed. Security teams stopped harassing human workers. The administrative staff began including humans in important meetings. Even the alien residents seemed to look at humans differently, with caution and a new respect. Word spread. Through human communities across the galaxy, the story grew with each telling, how a human janitor had been beaten by alien officers, and how her husband had made the entire Galactic Empire change its ways. No one knew the full truth except Songmi and Daeho. As her strength returned, they made plans to return to Earth. Project Juggernaut would go back to sleep, for now. Do you think it will last? Songmi asked as they packed their few belongings. This new respect for humans? Daeho looked out at the stars. Yes, because now they know that not all humans are what they seem. Some of us have been preparing for this moment for a very long time. And if they forget? Songmi asked. Daeho smiled at his wife. Then I will remind them. 6 weeks later, Songmi returned to her garden behind their small apartment in Seoul. The peppers and herbs had grown wild in her absence. As she knelt to pull weeds, she thought about everything that had happened. She was still a cleaner. Daeho was still an engineer, or appeared to be. They lived their quiet life as before. But something fundamental had changed in the universe. Humans stood taller now, spoke more boldly. And when Tredaran officials visited Earth, they treated the humans they met with careful respect. Always wondering, always watching for signs that this ordinary-looking person might be more than they appeared to be. Always wondering if, perhaps, this human might be a juggernaut.